want to be respectful of everyone's time. And all right, and then also I'm going to go ahead and mute some of those that are not muted. All right. So like Darkside said, if you could mute yourself, I went ahead and muted some of the ones that are not muted. And we'll go ahead and dig right in. So today we're starting out, I'm going to do kind of an overview of TradingView. I know some folks just recently signed up for TradingView. I've been working with TradingView for about a month or so. So by all means, if you have any tips and tricks that you see that I'm doing something the hard way, please interrupt, share. I know a lot of folks are brand new to it, looking at using some of the more advanced tools in TradingView, like the Fibonacci's, the harmonic patterns. So one of the things for me is trying to make TradingView as easy as possible. I came from using Thinkorswim. I've used Stocks to Trade. I've used or attempted to use IB's charting platform. TradingView is by far one of the favorites that I have as far as the way the chart looks, the ease and use of some of the tools. Having said that, there's some things that are not real obvious when you first dig into TradingView, and they can be kind of a pain. And then some of those things I found little tools, and I'm like, oh, that makes this so much simpler. So I'm going to kind of just go over the general chart, and then I'll show you some of the layouts that I do to kind of make my life easier. If you like those ideas, great. If you have other ideas and you want to share, we can do that as well. Hopefully we can all learn a little something today. So when you get started in TradingView, obviously you come into the login screen. Login screen does have some of the different prices up at the top, some of the markets like the SPY and the NASDAQ. You can also see a market summary here. You can get different ideas by going to ideas and looking at different chart patterns, technicals, and it's kind of like a blog post, if you will, of ideas that people have. So that's something you can kind of go through and get some different ideas. Scripts, there are different scripts in here. There is a screener. I've played with the screener a little bit. Probably won't go into that today because I want to focus on the charts. Obviously, there's a broker integration, and then if you hit charts, you'll see, okay, I'm going to load up my charts. So when you go to your charts, this is just a single pane chart, and I'm going to start off in the beginning just by going over the top. So as you can see up here, we have the ticker, and these are different time frames, and these time frames are populated by the ones that you favorite. So if you're on the premium plan and you have a 30-second chart and you want to add that, just click the star, and you can see it populates that up here. So if I click 30-second, goes to 30-second, click 5-minute, goes to 5-minute. A shortcut, if I want to go to a 5 or say a 3-minute now, I can just hit the number 3 on my keyboard and hit enter. If I want to do 2 hour, 2H. If I want to do a daily, I just do 1 day. So that's how you can also, if you don't want to come up here and click up at the top, again, you can make this, you can streamline this as much as you want as far as what your favorites are. I'm going to go back to a 5-minute. Okay, compare. Well, let's go here. Candles, what I use. You can also do like a hollow candle if that's what you want. Pretty much I leave this set. I don't do any of the other chart styles, but they do have quite a few that you can pick from. I'm getting a little bit of feedback, so I'm going to go ahead and mute some of the folks on the line. Again, when you're coming in, if you could mute yourself, please. Compare allows you to actually add another ticker. So say you're looking at a sympathy play, you can actually add a ticker to the stock. And it looks like it did it with a line graph. So let me see. Oh wait, that's the SPY, that's why, hold on. Let me go back, just pick a stock and compare. And of course, it's probably going to be off the chart because this is a much lower price stock. And you've seen that, I'm sure, in other platforms where you can kind of compare two different tickers. So I'm going to pull that off. As far as indicators go, indicators, there is obviously your favorites. You create a favorite by clicking the star next to whatever the indicator is. So if I go to my favorites, you can see I favorited a bunch of dark side scripts that he's created, also some of the out-of-the-box ones. There's an invite only, but I think these are basically the ones that you have added that were invite only. This isn't going to show you a list of all the invite only out there. The regular built-ins are just kind of the common ones that are built in. There's a public library of indicators and strategies, scripts, so you can create your own scripts. And it's weird, this is one that was kind of annoying. Volume profile was not in like the built-ins or the indicators themselves. So I was looking and looking and looking for this, and then someone showed me that the volume profile was actually down here. I think it might have been Purdue, I don't remember. So the volume session is when you go like this, and you can actually see the session's volume off to the side. So in this case, you can see the volume coming in. Here's where a lot of your buyers and sellers are. So if you want to remove an indicator, you can actually take and click it and delete, and it'll delete the indicator off the screen. I can also show you a few other ways to do that. So those are your indicators. If you do the drop down, it's only going to be the favorites. So if you want to look for a new one, click on indicator itself. You can go to your favorites and see them in a list here. Or the quick way is if you're on the chart and you want one of your favorites, you just do the drop down. You go pick your.
Can I ask a question real quickly?
Sure.
So I'm looking at your chart and I'm trying to sort of go along with you.
Okay.
And I have, and maybe I'm on the wrong, drop down but I think I'm on charts. But at the bottom of mine, I have stock screener and below the time frame, and of course my. Yeah. Yes. How do I?
So click on stock screener, and it'll minimize it down to the bottom of the screen.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was one of the things that was annoying for me in the beginning too. I'm like, I got this super small chart. How do I maximize it? And what I was doing at the time was I was using, I think, this field to maximize. No, it wasn't that one. There was another one I was using. I think it was this one here to bring the chart full screen. But then all of my other options were gone, and I'm like, so then I'd have to escape to close it. And I'd have to add my indicators, and then I'd blow it back up again. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. And then I went to do this, and I went to do like the drop down here, but I accidentally clicked this, and I'm like, well, where'd it go? And I was like, oh, it's down here. Again, one of those things that isn't really called out. It's kind of hard to see. I think you can also do this button here on the side, this minimize, to minimize the screener. So that's another option. And then you can use the little arrow to bring it up. So you can either use this in the arrow or click on the menu item. The other thing is if you want to maximize just the screener, you can do that as well. So you could have on one screen a list of all the screeners, picking whatever screener you want, and then have your other screen as charts. So I'm going to toggle that back down and minimize it. Okay, so we covered indicators, we covered your favorites, financials. This is something kind of new. What this allows you to do is, say, for instance, you want to look at the cash flow quarterly. It will actually show you, and this is probably a bad ticker for that. So this is going to show you what the cash flow is quarterly. Let me go to a one-day chart. Yeah, so you can see the quarterly, it changed right here. I personally don't see a great need in these, but for some folks that may be something that they want to see. Maybe if they're looking at like all time and they're trying to see, well, that didn't work very well. There you go. You could see, you know, what's going on, and you can pick different things in the financials. Again, not something I'm really too worried about. Templates. This was a game changer for me. So when you go to your templates, you can actually save indicator template. So let me throw some stuff on here. First of all, I did want to show you guys this. The regular volume that comes out of the box, this was something that got me so frustrated. And I feel like an idiot after I figured it out, because I spent about 5 hours creating a custom script to do the same thing you could do out of the box if I just knew how. So this was one of those painful learning moments for me. This volume down here, okay, great. There's a volume spike here. Volume's down here, but what is the volume? You can't even mouse over it and see what the number is. I'm like, this is retarded. Why isn't there a scale? So I created my own volume script that I called volume value that would give me this script. Okay. Well, I could have accomplished the same thing by right-clicking on the volume, or I'm going to show you a new little window here. There's a legend up here with windows and stuff like that. You can do this more settings. So this, maybe I should go over these. So this is the name of the indicator. You can hide and show an indicator. You can change the settings of an indicator, like the colors, the style, moving average. Those are some of the inputs on that particular indicator. You can delete the indicator, or I can go to more options. Well, right now, this scale is no scale. So what I can do is I can take and pin a scale to the left or the right. So let's say I pin a new scale to the left. Well, now I've got a scale for my volume. And I've got my price over here. I can also take that and move that scale over to the right and get a second scale for my volume and a second scale for my price. Me personally, I didn't like this because when I go to something like this, if I have two scales over here, it takes a lot out of my chart. So what you can do though is you can also go back to the 3 dots there, and you can move this, actually move the whole indicator. So it's moved to new pane below. So that's all I had to do was click it, move to new pane below, and I accomplished the same thing that I spent, like I said, 5 hours trying to write a script to, to get the color right, to do everything I wanted it to do. So that was a learning lesson. The other thing is I wanted my MACD to, because I'm trying to conserve screen space, and the main thing I'm looking for is the crossing on the MACD. So I have my MACD by default a little different than maybe what you have yours. So when you first set up your MACD, you may have something like this. So what I did is I said, okay, I'm going to take and I'm going to come into my settings of MACD. I'm going to get rid of the histogram, and got your inputs over here. So if you wanted to adjust any of those, it's very easy to do in the software. Now I'm going to hit my, oh, and the other thing that's kind of neat is if you want to create your own script, you can view the source code of what this current setting is by clicking this show source code, which is nice. Okay, so I'm going to hit more, and I'm going to now move this to existing pane above. And when I do that, I get a consolidated view of the volume and the MACD. All right, I'm getting some background, so I'm going to mute. Okay, and also we got a question from Slightly, so I'm going to finish this up, and then I'll let you ask your question. So I'm going to just finish this particular indicator. So back to, okay, we see my MACD legend, we see this legend. Again, it's not what I want. I don't want this over here. So what you do, you come back over to your MACD, and you change it to full screen like the volume was earlier originally. And now we have a nice clean volume with MACD. I can see the crossings, and I've kind of consolidated some space on my chart. Okay, Slightly, what's your question?
I love your volume indicator, and I just on my TradingView perspective, I have the volume the way you have it looking right now. I was just wondering if you could show us how your volume looked with the chart that you just had up.
Which chart? Are you talking about the 4 charts or the 8 grid that I had?
No, it was a chart that you had that was right before this, where the volume, it looked really crisp and clean.
This?
No.
Or you mean when the volume was up here at the top?
No, I mean it's this the spirit of it's the same, where you have the volume in its own bar at the bottom, but it just looked very crisp and clear. And
oh, meaning that that's okay. So again, this is the out of the box volume. So what I did in my script is I altered. So go to settings and kind of the same thing. You go to your style, come into your percentage here, and I think I had mine at like 85. So this is changing the opacity. So let me do that, and then come here and go to 85, something like that. Was it more like that?
yeah.
So
More
you can
like
play
that.
with those. Yeah,
Okay.
just go into and all the settings and all the charts. You can do this on just about anything. When you go into your settings, you can change the colors as you want. You can change lines and thicknesses and all that. I mean, you could even go all the way up to 100% if you want to. Now, having said that, I'm going to go ahead and just for checking it out, again, on my script, because I did put a lot of time into that, making it perfect. So mine was a little lower, but just to compare, so mine was at 75. So say I wanted this to be at, we'll go with the 75 for now. Where'd it go? You can also double click in this box and just type in 75. So that one's at 75, and we'll double click in here, change it to 75. Now I can also now say save as default. That's another huge time saver. Get the volume how you want it. It's at 75. Well, now if I delete this volume indicator, or I want to add it to another chart, I just come in, click volume, and now it should have defaulted to the 75. So that way you don't have to change it each time. And then that kind of goes back to what I was getting ready to show you guys. Again, I'm going to move to existing pane below for my volume. And because the MACD was there before the volume, so now you can see my my axis is kind of screwed up. So I'm going to fix that by going to volume here and say pin to right side. Of course, that screws that up. So I'm going to go back to my MACD and say full screen. And then now that kind of fixes the volume. Okay, so we have something here. I like this setup. I want to keep it. I don't want to have to add the MACD and the volume every single time I come in. Well, let's go to template, save indicator template. I'm going to call this volume MACD. I'm not going to save interval. I'm going to go ahead and save this. And as you can see up in my templates, like I have a simple template. Well, that simple template looks like this. I've got my moving averages of my volume. If you notice, look at my list over here. I've only got 3 indicators on this. Come back to my template, go to my volume MACD. All of my ones, even if they're hidden, stay on the chart. So when you set up a template, I would recommend putting all of your indicators on the bottom, all of your indicators up here that you would potentially need. Like say I want to look at my pivot points for monthly. Okay, there they are. Well, say you're on a chart and you go to your regular pivots and you blow past those regular pivots. So let's go to like a 3-minute chart. say this stock takes off out of the gate, blows way past these pivots, and you're like, well, now what? You know, I'm way past my pivots. Well, you hide it, you pull up your monthly pivots or your quarterly pivots and look for pivots in the area on where you're approaching. But you don't have to have all of them on. If I had all of these on, my chart would be a mess. I wouldn't be able to read it. So being able to toggle these on and off are just, it's awesome. So again, now I saved that without a time frame, and my simple is saved without a time frame. My 1 minute, 5 minute, these are actually set up that they, if you notice, it's on a 5 minute now. And then on these, if you favorite it to the right with the gold star, they show up here. So I can quickly make this a 1 minute chart just by clicking on the 1. Then I can come up and make it a 5 minute chart just by clicking on the 5. I can change it to simple. So I can do all that through these templates. And that's what I would recommend you do, is kind of get everything set how you want it and then create a template. And if you have an alternate view you want to see, create that template. So you may say, well, why would I want to create an alternate view? I want to just stick with one. Well, when you go and you start pulling up multiple charts, for instance, so when I first get started in the morning, the first thing I pull up is this, what I call research view. I've got a 5 minute chart, I've got a 15-minute chart, I've got a 2-hour chart, and I got a daily chart. Looking at the volume today, and I'm looking at the volume on the daily. And on these, I'm looking at trying to see patterns. Maybe I need to draw a harmonic or a Fibonacci. So I'm going to take, on this one, I'm going to delete out my fib. Say I wanted to do a Fibonacci retracement right here. Well, sometimes these are a little pain to get just right. So I'm going to show you a tool here. So if I go to Fibonacci, and I'm right here, and I click, and I click, well, as you can see, I totally missed the arrows. Another quick tip, if you hold Alt or Option and click on a chart, I'm going to do it right now, it maximizes that chart out of your grid. Alt or Option with the click. So I'm going to click like that. And again, you can see that I missed these targets. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, which makes it a little easier to click. But let me delete that, and let me click this little magnet tool over here on the left-hand side. After I click the magnet tool, I can now take and grab my fib retracement. Now, if you notice, I'm right here. I'm off the line, but it took it right to the endpoint. So it pretty much makes it to where you're not going to miss as much. I mean, sometimes it'll snap to the next candle, so try to make sure you're directly above the wick in proximity to it, and it should snap it into place. Now, we all know that these candles, though, I guarantee you that Fibonacci is going to be a little off once I zoom in. So let me go to like a 30-minute. Okay, that one actually nailed it. Okay, and here was another one of those things. All right, so see right here, I mean, it hit the level, but it needed to be back some. Well, let's go to a 15-minute. Okay, now another trick, I'm going to hit Alt or Option on the Mac, depending on if you're a Mac or a PC, and R, and that resets the chart. So Alt or Option and the R key for reset. So here's what I've done in the past. I want to see that stock. So I'm going to zoom in like this so that I can see where I'm at. Now, I want to go back to the beginning. Well, this is what I would do in the past. Drag, drag, drag. Now what do I do? Double click down here to reset the horizontal. Or again, you can hit your Alt or Option R. You can grab this magnifying glass now, this is a newer tool, and you can just draw around the area you want to see. That is a big time saver. If you are on a 5-minute chart, again, Option R, and you want to see something way back when, and you're looking at the chart like this, to get over into this area over here used to take forever because you'd have to scroll back, zoom, zoom, zoom. Now you just take it, magnify, boom, you can see what's going on. Again, hitting Alt or Option R to reset the chart. The other thing that can be a bit of a pain in the butt, and let me make sure it is off. Okay. Whenever you are drawing, you're zooming in here, and I want to look at my quarterly pivots. What happens? Ah, my chart's gone. I can't see it. It's because everything is scrunched up to include the pivots. Have you guys ever experienced that before? Sure you have. In this gear section here, if you change it to scale price chart only, then what happens is you add your pivots and it's scaled based on the price. So my pivots are on, there's the pivot, but it's not moving my chart to where I can't see what's going on. So that's another super handy one. I found that out. Between the scale price chart only and the magnifying glass to zoom in, that saved me a ton of time dealing with charts. Want to do a check. Is there any questions? We've kind of covered most of this up at the top, a few more things, and then we'll move to another section. But is there any questions? Slightly, go ahead.
I just wanted to thank you so much for that pivot tip. That's the biggest pain in the butt ever. Thank you very much. That's awesome.
No problem. No problem. Anybody else got a question? And I know I'm going kind of fast. We are recording it, but I'm trying to get as much content in as possible. Go ahead, Moto.
Hi, Josh. Could you just quickly repeat how you find the Fibonacci and pick the point where you start your Fibonacci retracements?
So as far as where and how to draw them, or just the tool itself?
Yeah, where to find it? I couldn't find it in the menu, and you just quickly threw it in that chart. And I was just wondering, did I miss something?
No, you're fine. You're fine. And that's another great feature here. Okay, so and this kind of goes down the side panel. So let me quickly cover these two things, and then I'll go to the side panel. Actually, I'll come back up to those. I'll answer your question, go down the side panel now. When you look on the side panel, you're going to see things like cursor, dot, arrow, eraser. You can see your line tool. So if I click, I'm just going to get the line tool, okay? If I click here, I get the Fibonacci. So I click line, it's ready to go. I can draw a line, good to go. Delete that out. If I wanted to pick a, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Sorry guys, let's go back to regular size. Okay, so if I want to do something else in these tools, there are arrows out to the side. So there is a trend line, an info line, trend angle, horizontal line, and if you see these little shortcuts here, like I can hit Option or Alt with an H, and that'll do a horizontal line, vertical line, a cross line. You can use those little shortcut tips to do it without actually having to draw them. But you can also star these to add to favorites. There's arrow, extended, parallel, so on and so forth. Fibonacci's are all under here. So you've got different things, Gann fan, Fib retracement, Fibonacci extension, Fibonacci fan, time zone, circles, spirals, Fib channel. So I've got a few here that you can see that I've favorited. Once you favorite some of these tools over here, again, some drawing tools, text tools, you can do price points, so on and so forth. This star down here shows you your favorites. And at the bottom of my screen, you can see this floating palette of my favorites. I drag that down to the bottom of the screen. So if I want to do a trend line, I just click trend line down here, I draw it, I'm good to go. Another note, when you're using any of these tools, you'll see this kind of pops up down here at the bottom, but you can move it if you want to. I kind of try to keep things out of the way. I can make it a dotted line, which is just a dotted line. I can do line extended to the right. I can do another line extended to the right that's dotted. This left one's actually wrong. So that was, no, that is it, right line extended. Okay, I don't have a left. But if you want to create a template, you just do save drawing template as, and you type the name of the template. So if I wanted to alter this, I could either right click it, or I could click the little gear down here. And you can change whether you want it extended off the right, the left, what color, to show a price range. I mean, there's all kinds of different tools that you can look at. And again, guys, if you would, mute your mics when you come in, getting a little background noise. I've muted a few. After you do that, you save it, or again, you can come in and say, oh, I really wanted just the dotted line, so I use my template, and it pulls that template up. And you can do this on everything, just about everything you draw. So if I come into my Fibonacci retracement and say I click here, I'm looking at a micro level instead of the other one that I had on. I've got these, I've got an intraday one, an hourly, a daily, and as you can see, it's going to change the color. So this one here is on screen and it's one color, this one's another color, and sometimes you get in here and you're like, oh my gosh, I got too many. Why? I just need to look at one, but I don't want to delete what I drew. Well, okay, let me hide this one. Okay, great, I hit it. Now let me come and unhide it. Can I come up here? Oh no, there's no Fibonacci tool up here. So what you do, on the right-hand side, there is an object tree. In this object tree, you can hide and unhide different tools. So it's kind of a breakdown of everything, where this is just your indicators. So that's another great tool. So you can kind of see, especially when some of these, like the line right here is crossed. So I'm like, I can see the 23, but what's that other line? Well, there's the 23, there's the 38. And say this purple one is not one that I really needed, I can just delete it from there. Just like I could go ahead and delete it by clicking on it. Okay, so I'm going to close this side panel here. So we covered most of the drawing tools, arrows. There's a ruler that you can measure. There's the zoom in, zoom out, the magnet we talked about. Stay in drawing mode, so you can draw on things. Lock all drawings. If you ever go to click on something and you go to move like that, see how it moved my fib? Now this is one thing I absolutely love about TradingView. Another hot tip. You can either do Control-Z or Command-Z on a Mac, and it'll undo the move you did. If you type in the wrong ticker, you can undo to, if you type it in like the wrong window, you can undo it to go back to the ticker you were at before. You can undo moving a drawing. You can undo deleting something. I spent all this time deleting this Fibonacci. Oh my gosh, I didn't mean to delete that. Well, just undo it. That's something that I don't see in a lot of other platforms that I really like. So again, you can lock this drawing. Now when I go to move the drawing, it doesn't move it. It doesn't allow me to move it. If you don't have that on, you can't click on here and move up. You got to be off the drawing and move up. Well, guess what? It's not letting me move. Why not? It's because the axis is kind of already locked in. If you minimize the axis or maximize it just a little bit, it'll allow you to move this. If you're like, I really want that back in place, again, you can either hit Option or Alt-R, or you can double click and it'll resize the vertical axis. And if you double click down here, you can do the horizontal axis. So before, I was double clicking to get everything back in view. Now, if you want to do both of them, just do the Alt or Option R. Okay, hide all drawings. That gets a nice clean chart. Instead of me having to do 1 or 2 or 3, I can do all of them if I'm just wanting to look at the price action. New drawings are replicated on all charts in the layout. This is another great tool because if, for instance, I have the 3 vertical linked here. So as you can see on this chart, I've got this line kind of coming up on the chart. Let me grab it. Hopefully I got it. If I hit delete, it deletes it from all 3 charts. So that's what that does. That allows you, where'd my chart go? Is this it? No, it was on design research. Yeah, there we go. Sorry. So that will allow you to basically, if you've got 2 or 3 different views, you can replicate that drawing or that Fibonacci or whatever, but you may not want it on all of them. So for instance, on here, if I go Alt Option to zoom back out, and I've got, say I turn this off, say I want to draw something just on my daily. I don't want it on all the other charts. I want to do a Fibonacci on just my daily. And I come in here and I, again, grab my favorites down here, come all the way up. If you notice, there's nothing on these other charts. So I can look at my daily and see my daily levels, but it's not going to muddy up here. Same thing on the intraday. A lot of times when you do these on an intraday, you're going to see, do it here, it's clear here, you know, but nothing, no noise over there. Now, if I delete that and put this lock back on, now what happens when I do my Fibonacci on the daily is I get all this junk right here and I really can't see what's going on in the day. If I zoom in a little bit, so you got to play with, you know, what works for you. Okay, delete, remove drawings, remove indicators, remove drawings, tools, and indicators. So you can kind of do things all in one swoop. Again, we covered the star, which is the palette of the favorite drawings that drops in the bottom. Object tree, this shows you a little bit of everything. This is kind of the same thing as this over here. So another thing I want to bring up, obviously you can see different things here. For instance, I think this will be a good one. So I'm going to use my magnifying glass to zoom in on this chart. And you can see that if I hover over the moving averages, they pop in front of the chart. But if I come off of them, you can't see them real good. So one of the things you can do, you can come up to your settings. I think it is, no, it's not settings. It's the three dots. Three dots here for additional. You can bring to front, send to back, bring forward. So if I bring to front, now what's going to happen is you see those moving averages in front of the lines. So you can change your drawings and your pictures and everything to be in front of or behind the chart. So like right here, you see my candle, unless I click on the Fibonacci, but my candles are in front of the fibs. So however you want to set your preferences up for that, you can do that by arranging things back and forth. Okay, so I'm going to go over, so we went over the top except for these, so I'm going to finish those out. Let me get back to my single window, and I'm going to move to something simple. Actually, let me show you that real quick. Sorry guys, I'm throwing a lot at you, but I'm trying to get as much of what I've learned out to you guys. I got a bunch of technical tools down here. I got the consolidation versus trending, stochastics, MACD. My chart may be kind of scrunched up. I want to see the chart enlarged, but if I hide this, it just hides the data. It doesn't move it off the chart. You can double click anywhere in the chart up above, and when you double click, it moves all the bottom indicators out. Double click again and it brings them back. So I use this a lot, especially if I'm on like this research grid that I have over here. If I've got this, actually that's a bad example. I usually use that more with the 3 vertical. So on this 3 vertical chart, like you can see right now, if I go ahead and hit option click, what's going to happen is it's going to pull it over here. So I've got 3 charts up. If I'm watching these and I want to draw some trend lines or something, I can't draw in this little space, but I can just click option, click, come up here, double click. Now I've got a clean chart. I can draw, I can do whatever I want to do, get my fib levels lined up, then double click, option click or alt click, minimizes it right back. But now I've got my levels that I can see where it's supposed to be bouncing off of, and I can monitor these all at once. So that was something that was very helpful as well. So again, I'm gonna, do we have a question?
Yeah, Josh, also let them know that if they have like the indicators at the bottom and they're having a hard time seeing, like the lines are so tight and they're trying to see if they're starting to cross or something, that they can double click on the indicator itself and blow it up to a big picture and then double click it and go back out. Yeah,
absolutely. And these are also customizable too. So if I'm like, man, this MACD, oh, my dog's gonna start growling at the UPS guy. if this here, I can make this as big or as small as I want to. So those are also customizable, something that you can play with if that helps. But then like Darkside said, I mean, and this is kind of tight down here. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Well, double click it. Oh, wow, yeah, they're crossing here. No big deal. So it's very easy to pop things in and out and right back to read them to see what's going on. All right, any other questions so far?
Hey, Josh, did you say this is going to be recorded?
Yes.
Okay, very good, because this is a lot of data.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm
Oh, no,
trying to...
don't apologize. It's cool, but yeah, I'm definitely going to have to go back and look at this again.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and look at it again myself in slow motion. So
Yes, I know. It's twofold. I'm trying to get out as much information as possible, but I also want you guys to see, because when I first started working with this software, I was used to, and I started adding technical analysis and different indicators. I was used to a very clean chart and not using a lot of this stuff. So I kind of got overwhelmed at first until I started learning how to manipulate the charts so I could see something clean to see the candles and then go ahead and throw my indicators back in as needed. Okay, so up here at the top, we talked about templates. So now we can talk about alerts. The alerts, you can do them on all kinds of different values. You can make it notify an app, show a pop-up, send an email, webhook URL, which I don't even know what that is. You can make it play a sound, email to SMS. So there's all kinds of options that you can play with. The other thing is, you notice this is on SPY. You can also do indicators on other components. So if I'm like, you know what, and again, my favorites are gone, so I'm going to hit my star to bring my palette back. I'm going to draw, say, a trend line here that I think, and it's probably not really a good trend line, but it works for this illustration. Right line extended, and you can come in here and you can right click and say add alert on trend line. And then you can basically say, you know, if it crosses up, crosses down, it's greater than, less than, moving up, moving down, moving up percentage. And then Darkside hates these pop-ups because they show up on every TradingView window. So I would turn them off, notify an app, notify in text. The apps are really nice. That's another thing. If you don't have the mobile app, you can put the mobile app on your phone. You can put it on an iPad, and I'm sure same on Android and tablets. They really nice charts, and you can do some of the same things with popping things in and out. If you have a keyboard, like I have an iPad that has a keyboard, I can hit Control and click the chart with my finger, and it pops it out. So really cool. So we covered the alerts. There's also a replay in here that you can replay, back testing, kind of like on demand on TOS. Okay. So we covered the top, we covered the left. Let's go to the right side. Here's where you can add your watch list. You can create multiple watch lists. You can also tag items in the watch list to have like almost like a sub watch list. So say you have an energy sector watch list, but you have 5 of the energy sector stocks moving, you can, you know, highlight those in red. And you might have another couple of earnings plays you highlight in red, and a couple other that you're looking at in red. And then when you click on red, it pulls out just the red versus going to a watch list. Also, when you click on a ticker, so let's do CLVS, you can get some information about that ticker over here. So you can see, and I'm going to and you can move these around as much as you want to. You can click more to get more data. So you can see price history, dividends, balance sheet, margin, income statement, all this different information here. You can also get, I think it's here, nope, just the same. There you go. So you can look at oscillators, you can look at you know, the summary, the moving averages, different indicators, you know, that you can use. You can see what the pivots are. Bunch of data in here. You can see the shares outstanding, and then you can see some of the news headlines right down here. So that's kind of the information section. You can also manage your alerts all right here. Here is a data window. It's kind of showing what's on my chart, the different EMAs, so on and so forth. Hot list. So this is kind of the screeners on the side. I think someone asked me this the other day about doing something on the side window. You can do this and kind of get like this one here. It's kind of pre-built. I think you can save. Yeah, you can. I think you can save some of your own as well. I've not played with these a bunch because I've been using scans. But like gap gainers, so you could see what the gap gainers. I know Alta was one that some of you in Darkside's room played yesterday. So you can see different ones. DOMO was one that people played. But you can also look at just percent gainers. I think, what was it? KLXE, CGIX. I think some of these were played in the lower price land. So just a way to kind of get some scans and different things on the side. There's also a calendar, which is really cool because you can see earnings for the day. So you can get some earnings information. This goes back to trade ideas. So you are not trade ideas. It is a trade idea, but it's not the software trade ideas. You can put an idea out here and then it can go into what we looked at on the first screen. This is different chats. You know, there's like a group chat, individual chats, and then here's your idea stream. So some of Darkside scripts came in there, notifications, different people liking scripts, following. This is where you would do your trading. So you'd have to connect to a broker. They don't have a broker that I use currently. And then this is kind of a similar to Thinkorswim where you can buy and sell off of the, I think they call it active trader in Thinkorswim, but it's a little different here. Okay, so I'm going to go over my charts themselves and see if we have any questions, and then I'm going to flip it over to Darkside to go over some swing ideas and Q&A. All right, so again, I've showed you my research view so I can get a snapshot in time. After I go through and look at stocks and add them to my watch list, I will put them in a monitor view. And the monitor view that I've set up has 8. If you're not on the premium, you can only do 4, I think it is. You might be able to, I think it's 4. I think it's 4 on the Pro Plus. The other option here is, so I have 2 monitors. This is kind of how I have mine set up. And what I do, if I've got like a ton of stocks that I'm wanting to watch on a day, that I just want to kind of keep off in my side chart. So what I do is I take my one monitor and my second monitor. Hopefully this will work right. So I take, and in a Mac, and I don't know what the equivalent is in Windows, but you can click here and, you know, maximize if you want to maximize a chart. But there's also this kind of split view, and it works. You can also do it with like your external monitor software too, because I played with that as well. So I can come over here and I can select right tile for that one, and then I can select this other screen setup. And when I do this on my, obviously this is kind of a smaller monitor, I have a bigger monitor. You can also go in like this view, so it's a little better. And then on these, I typically turn these off when I'm on the side, because basically all I'm doing is I'm monitoring these stocks. So they're all going to be on like a 5-minute time frame. I'm just keeping them off to the side so I can see if anything hits any of the levels or starts moving. So that's a quick and easy way to kind of get a little bit more. So especially if you have the Pro Plus version and you've got 4 charts, you can do 4 and 4 and 4 and 4, and then you get 8. So that's what I do with my monitor view. And close those. So do my research, add them to my watch list, throw them on my monitor view. Then as I'm looking at stocks that are maybe closer to what I want to play, I'm going to throw them on this 3 vertical charts that are not linked. So I've got 3 different tickers. If I see one moving that I think, hey, that's the one that's probably going to be the play, then I move it to this chart here, which is 3 vertical linked. And I've got a 1 minute, a 3 minute, and a 10 minute, or sometimes I'll have a 5 minute and a 15 minute. And on here, I've got my cycle indicator. I've got my stochastics, and all of them I have my volume and MACD. So I can see them on different time frames, and I can see if, like, okay, it looks good on the 1 minute, but are the candles confirming it on the 3 minute? What's the 10 minute telling me? And once everything lines up, then that's where I go ahead and take the trade. One thing I did not touch on that I probably need to is you can, once you get a chart set up, you can like make a copy. Once you make a copy of the chart, you can save it as a different name. That's where you'll get this. Oh, that's saving it. So once you save it, you load the charts. I think you got to do load new. Yeah, that's it. So load new chart, I would actually get a list of all of my charts. I'm going to go ahead and close that and come back to my layout. On these, you can also select whether you want the symbol to be linked or not. So on my chart that is 3 vertical without it being linked, my symbol is not checked. So if I change my 1 minute, which over there, they're all the same, this 3 minute wouldn't change. Interval is checked because I want them all in the same time frame. So if I have them on a 3 minute and I change it to a 5, it changes the 5 on all the charts in this window, in this layout. So these settings are just affecting this layout. So if I go and change it to this setting, well, that's going to change it to this setting. If I change it to 6, it's going to change it to 6. So whatever you pick, it's going to allow you to save those settings across all of those charts. So interval, time, drawing, crosshairs. So like right now, I don't have the crosshairs checked. So when I'm over here, you only see it right there. But say I wanted to have that one on for this because these are all the same ticker. So if I'm like, ooh, this candle right here, you notice my crosshair is going in line with all of the charts. So those are a few more settings you may want to tweak. What questions do we have? And Darkside, do you have anything to add as well? Anything that I missed, or anything that you found that I'm unaware of?
No, I think you covered just about everything. But the only other thing I can think of would be the templates on the actual drawing tools. Also, I like to have multiple templates for different, like daily versus an hourly versus intraday type
Right.
settings and stuff. But that's about it.
Yep, and I think I touched on them briefly, but basically on all of these, the second window will pop up with your templates, and you can apply them. You can change different things like this fib channel, which a fib channel is something that you can get different ratios and numbers. Well, if you want to adjust that, go to settings. You can change your styles, you can change your ratios, your fib ratios, whether you want it to extend right or left, and then save it as a template or apply default. You can change colors on these. That's another thing I didn't go into a bunch, but on all of these, you can change colors on your moving averages. You can make it one color by clicking here. You can change the transparency. You can move your labels on these. That's another thing I didn't cover. From left to right to center. You can also do values or percentages. So I typically, on most of mine, I use percentages. So now you can see it's 100% versus 1, 23.6% versus 0.236. But again, you come here, save drawing as template. So if I save that as template and put custom, now I can basically check custom, and that's what will show up. Or if I had other templates, I could switch between them. Any other questions?
You may want to also go under and explain to them what that visibility is, because I know that could be probably something that when someone sees it, they don't actually understand it. And it is a nice tool to clean your chart up. For drawing purposes, you can actually just say, I just want this specific template to only show up, say, like on a daily chart only, or show only on intraday. So you don't have all that noise from intraday piling up on your daily charts and cluttering your daily charts.
Okay, so you're talking about over here.
Yes.
Gotcha. So there you go. See, I was doing this manually. I didn't know that. I was doing it by not linking them or linking them. So you can change it to where if I have an intraday, so for instance, let me go to, this is my intraday chart. And just to make sure, I'm going to show you. So there's my daily. My daily's purple. My hourly is blue. And my intraday has all these other colors. So if I come into settings and say, do not show this on day, but show it on all the others, then I'm going to do here, and I'm going to do save drawing template as intraday, and I'm going to save that. Do I want to replace it? Yes, I do. All right, so now we're going to go back to my chart over here, my research chart. I'm going to, as you saw before, this kind of blurred up my daily. So I'm going to delete it. And this is kind of wonky on this chart. So again, Option or Alt R to reset it. I'm going to move it over a little bit, grab my tool, come up here. And if you notice, it didn't show up on my daily. It just showed up on the intraday. So thank you. I learned something today. All right, any questions? No questions. Let's see if there's any in chat.
You know, I'm going to save my questions for after I rewatch this. So, I mean, I have too many questions. I'm so far behind that I will rewatch it before I slow the group down.
Well, hopefully this is, okay. Josmer said, yeah, I'll redo my charts based on this in a little while. Okay. Anybody else? It's a very flexible software. It took a little bit of getting used to, but like I said, once you start tinkering with it, and if you guys have questions or if you're like, man, I'm trying to figure something out, feel free to hit me up. Because if you have the question, most likely, if I haven't figured it out, I have the same question, and we can, tag me in the room, and then others may know the answer. I mean, that's what's great about Discord, is that we can throw all this conversation about these types of things in the room, and and don't be scared. Everyone's got the same questions. Everyone's learning. When I first started this, I had no clue, and that's just how you learn. You just dig in. When you follow someone, how do you find them quick? Manny, are you talking about following them on TradingView for like their scripts and stuff like that? Okay, so back to the main screen. If you just click here on your profile, you're following, and I'm gonna redo that because that was kind of quick. So in your main screen, pick on your profile and then following. You can see your followers, ideas, all that. That's another thing too, guys. If you like a light theme, I don't. I like the dark. You can change your theme in here as well, and that'll change your charts. All right, any other questions? We're right at an hour. That was perfect. All right, Dark Side, if you want to take it over, share your screen, and we can start talking about some swing ideas.
Why don't you go over one last thing, Josh? Under
Okay.
the actual main settings in the chart, they may not realize that what you can do inside that area with
Okay.
like the prices on the side, the indicators having prices, or telling you the actual name of what the indicator is, and so on and so forth.
Okay, so I right-click in the chart. You can see the settings gear. You can also get to that up here Same thing. So symbol. Yeah, and this is a good point because there's a few things. Let me get something. Well, you can see it up there. That's fine. If you look up at this top in this area here, you see this percent change. We'll cover that in 2 minutes. But so I don't use this. Honestly, I don't know what this means. The color bar is based on previous close. I've not used that. Dark side, do you know what that option does? I've never used it.
I believe it's based upon the actual glass close of whatever the candle is, based on your time frame. But I haven't really paid attention to that setting.
Yeah, I haven't either. This is where you can alter the candle colors, the border colors, and the wick colors. So you can make like your wicks white if you wanted to. If you wanted to do that, if you look in the screen below, you can see that my wicks are now white. I could change borders to be white if you want to do that. Again, I'm doing Alt, or instead of finding the colors that I had, I'm just doing Command Z, Control Z for Windows. You can undo these things. I love undo. Last value line, that one I don't really mess with. Previous close line, this one will allow you to, it's kind of faint. Let me put it in like white and make it a little bolder. As you guys can see there, previous close line, if you look on the chart where it closed the day before, it's being added right here, white line. On some of those charts I have that, and others I don't. I need to add that. I don't use this adjust data for dividends. I don't know exactly what that is either. Extended hours. So I can turn this on or off. The default on this out of the box is like a blue color. I switched mine to a gray. Down here, you see this EXT. That does the same thing. So if you want to turn extended hours on and off, you don't have to open up the settings and adjust that. You can just do the shortcut down here. Time zone, big one. This defaults to like UTC, which is like so hard to read in the chart. So I always go up and change this to exchange. So that's another one. And then once you save it, also recommend saving it for like all time frames. So when you make changes in like my research tab over here, if I go into settings and I go to make changes, I can hit apply to all. So for instance, previous close value, I didn't have that one on here. I'm gonna make that a little bigger. You notice it's only on this chart down here. Well, let me just apply to all, and then now all of a sudden you'll see that the close line, it moved into all the charts. So that's another key thing there. Okay, so again, back to settings, went through all these, and template. So I can save as custom, and then anytime you change it to custom, you can maybe have a template to where you don't want the extended hours on, and you don't want maybe the clothesline on, and you want to change the colors, and so you can do that, and you can maybe say your daily chart is one color and your intraday is another color. I mean, you have complete flexibility with this software. Okay, status line. This is important. You can change this. So say I do that. If you look up here, everything we're doing here is going to be reflected up here. So the ticker is gone. Ticker's back. You can also do a description. So you have the name there. As you see in the background, you can kind of see the ticker, and that we're on a 5-minute chart and the name. But you can do it like this as well. Now, for me, I like the ticker because I like the ticker to pop in white, and I don't like when those, especially on like my research tab where I got 4 different screens, I got a bunch of long names. It starts wrapping the text, and I did not like that. Open, high, low, close numbers. This is based on a candle. So this candle right here, the high was 951. The low was 936, the close was 948. Here, it was 949, 936. This is just extra noise to me. I could see it maybe on like a daily chart where you wanted to hover over the daily candle, I turn that off. Bar change values, again, this is the last bar. This is not the percent change for the day. I turn that off, typically. Indicator titles, you can turn that off, where you now have nothing up in that corner bothering your screen. How it defaults is like this. So if you guys have these, especially on some of these charts where there's like just a ton of indicators, let me throw on some indicators so you can see what I'm talking about. So you've got it, you've got it maybe not visible, but when you're going into the chart, you're still seeing all this data when you turn it on. You're just like, oh my gosh, there's all this stuff. I don't want it. I mean, obviously you can hide it that way, but when they're on, it can really mess with your chart when your chart area is up in here. So let's take and make sure this is set to scale for price only. And then I'm going to kind of move the chart over. So here's what I'm talking about. This is just, it drives me nuts. It's all in my chart. I don't like it kind of being there in the way. So what I do, I don't really care about what the values are because I don't care what the moving average value is. Now volume, that's kind of nice because it kind of gives you the value for the day, but you can't really do it individually. So I turn off the values. I also turn off the indicator arguments. So this right here is like showing your moving averages and what the settings are. Don't really care. All I want is the titles, because if you turn the titles off, you can't see them. If the titles are on, then at least you can hide them, change your settings, make them visible when you need them. You're good to go. Background, this is the background for this area. So you can see kind of how if I make it real dark, see, you can't see the candles or the lines behind it now. It's got a background. By default, I think it's like this. I just turn that off because it's just extra noise for me. Wrap text allows it to wrap text around. Again, it was kind of culling things off the screen once I had all that information there and it was wrapping the text around, so I got rid of that. Okay, we do have a question from Josmer. All right, I do have a question. Can you move the lower part of the frame where you have the times, screener, and other editor panels? For me, it's just a waste of space, as you may know. I trade from half screens. Yeah, I do not know a way to get this off completely, just the minimized, but I will say this. Here's a workaround for you. If you don't need the stuff on the side, and all you need is the chart, use this little expansion full screen mode, and that will only show you your chart. So that may help. And then you would just hit escape to come back to your normal view. Okay, and then back into settings. Scales and lines, so symbol, name, label. That is going to be this right here, the label of the symbol. So again, I turn that off. Symbol last value, I like that on because I can quickly see where the price is. Previous close line intraday, again, that's just the price of the previous day. We can leave that on for now. Indicator name. So now you can see all my moving averages and my pivots. On some of this, it can get really noisy really quick. And then if you add the value and you do no overlapping labels, nothing's going to overlap, but you got a lot of noise over here. So for me, I've kind of memorized my colors. You know, my blue is my 34 EMA, my yellow is my 13, my white is my 5, my purple is my 200. I know what they are, so I don't care about the name. I really don't care about the value either because on my moving averages, I'm looking at, you know, where it's going to bounce for support. I don't really care what the price is. So I take off the value as well. Financial name label, I don't even know what that is. I'm looking to see where it pops up. That may be for the lower section in financials. I think that's what that's for, which we don't have turned on. No overlapping labels. Again, if you had this not checked, now they're overlapping, so you can't see them all. Now they don't overlap. Countdown bar to close. When the market is moving, you actually will get a countdown. So if you're on a 1 minute channel, a 1 minute candle, it'll start out, 60 seconds, 59, 58, 57, and it'll count down to the close of the candle. So not only do you know, like if you're on a 5 minute candle, you're like, okay, I'm gonna see how this one closes. But maybe you just pulled that chart up. You don't know if you're 1 minute into that 5 minute candle or 4 minutes and 30 seconds into the 5 minute candle. Well, with the countdown bar, you do. Locking aspect ratio or the bar ratio. I've not messed with this, honestly. Scales, I do auto. There's stack on left, stack on right. That would be these scales off to the right. Date format. This is the date. You can switch it to, whatever you want as far as a date format. Appearance. This is where you get into the background. So by default, I think it's like a gray. I think it's like this color. And then there's like a blue for after hours. I went with black just because I wanted things to pop. Grid lines, I made these very faint. I know Dark Side, I think he's got his on black because you don't see the grid lines on his chart at all. I like to have faint ones just because I can kind of use them as a line if I need to without having to draw a line. Saves me a little time. Session breaks, again, this is the, that should be, I guess that's, I don't even know what that is. I've not used that one either. Session breaks. Well, it's not down at the bottom. That may be like a vertical.
It's a vertical that's in the time. If you go back to previous days, you'll see the breaks.
Okay. So let's turn that on. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. That actually is kind of nice because the one thing about TradingView is it does not plot no data. So there's times you're in pre-market and you're like, man, this thing's moving up from pre-market, but it was like moving up the day before. And if you look, it like stopped at like 8 o'clock and then it started at like 7:30 the next morning, but there was nothing in between. So it goes from like a 7 p.m. candle to a 7:30 a.m. candle. So at least this shows you a break of what's going on. So that's kind of nice. Scale text, lines. Again, that's the, well, I don't know if that's the background. I haven't played with those either. Watermark, this is going to be the background. Let me rearrange my, so you see this in the background. If I turn it off, you can't see the ticker in the background. And I have mine pretty faded, but you can also make it a little darker if you want to. I don't want mine to be much of a distraction, so I have mine kind of light. Navigation buttons, visible on mouse over, always visible, always invisible. I don't know what those are either, so let's see. Always invisible. There we go. That's these. So I have mine visible on mouse over, so I can come over here and move it up or down. This is kind of the same thing as we did by going to the right or left, and but it was, we moved it and consolidated it, but you can also just flip the panel down. So if you want to move these things around, you can. You can double click in here to zoom it like we talked about earlier, but you can also use this to zoom it as well. So they kind of put in double redundancy for how people think. Top margin, bottom margin, right margin. Again, I don't really mess with the margins.
That's your offsets in case you needed to pull the stock back away. So you want to see the labels, for example,
Right.
that what the indicators are, but you always have the candlesticks in the middle of the labels. You can do an offset and bring the chart back a certain percentage, and that way the labels never interfere with your candlesticks.
Nice. Yeah, and I think that's where, like when I, like over here, when I draw my fibs, I can see my fib labels and the chart isn't like over top of it. Awesome. Okay, trading. Again, I don't use this. Show positions, show orders. This is all dealing with doing your broker. I don't have the broker set up. Events, so like earnings breaks. Let's go to a daily. So you see the earnings off. All it's doing is adding a line up through the chart versus just the E at the bottom. Economic events, show only future events, event breaks. Again, that's kind of similar to earnings breaks, but for events. And then again, you can change templates and move things in and around. One other thing I will show you down here, if you click this, you can pull some of the options that are in there, like we did the scale to price only, invert scale, percentage, move scale to the left, but you can do these labels. So if I want to quickly see my indicator name, I can do that to see, oh, this is a pivot. This is a weekly 1 pivot, a weekly S1 pivot. Okay, cool. Now I know what that is. I can turn that back off and be like that. So instead of having to go into the settings and do it, you can do it quickly off the side. All right. How do you get the ticker, time, company name in the center of your chart behind the price action? Did I answer your question already slightly? Because I did kind of go over that. If not, I can show you again. You got it? Okay. Mayor likes the countdown bar. Awesome. Any other questions? That's TradingView in an hour and 20 minutes.
One last thing, I think it's probably one of the most important things, just in case some people are not aware, is I would explain to them where they need to subscribe to the extra market data to make sure that they're actually seeing everything.
Yep, I actually was going to cover that and I forgot. So when you log in, and I'm just going to go to the home screen so it looks familiar. When you log in, you come up to your profile and you'll see account and billing, and you can see down here, add extra market data. The data is not free, but it's pretty cheap. I myself subscribe to ARCA, NYSE, NASDAQ, and OTC. It's $2 a month each. It's $8 a month. If you're doing the indices, you can, futures. I mean, there's even others like the Toronto Stock Exchange, Europe. I mean, there's all kinds of data you can get if you want to, but I get these 4. Dark Side, what do you get? You get just the top 3?
Yeah, I got everything but the OTC.
Okay. So $6 a month for Dark Side, $8 a month for me, no big deal. And when they had the Black Friday deal on the software, I mean, you got a year for like the premium was like $270, I think, $280, something like that, for a whole year. And then what they did is I actually had the Pro Plus, and then I upgraded to the Premium. So they prorated what I had on my balance to the premium rate. So I basically have like a year and a half, a year and 7 months of TradingView. So it's a pretty affordable platform for the functionality you get, for sure. All right, any other questions? Guys, let me know any thoughts, questions. You can DM me, post in chat. Let me know if there's anything I could do better on things like this. Like, did I go too fast? Did I, is there things you liked about it, didn't like about it? I'm open for feedback just so I can get better at sharing with you all. All right, Darkside, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
All right, appreciate it, Josh. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and shut our recording down so we can have this as a separate video.